They called him a man of science. They called him a man of God. But one day, his own people refused to even call him a Muslim. This is not a story of fame. It's a story of brilliance, betrayal, and silence. A man who built his entire life serving knowledge, faith, and his homeland, only to be forgotten by the very nation he helped build. He believed that religion and science were never enemies, but two sides of the same truth. He believed that understanding the laws of the universe was another way of understanding the Creator himself. And yet, the world celebrated him. His country erased him. Who was this man? Why was his name removed from school books? Why was the word Muslim carved off his gravestone? Today, we uncover the hidden story of Dr. Abdus Salam, the first Muslim scientist to ever win the Nobel Prize in physics, a man of light, buried in the shadows. Our story begins in a small, quiet town called Jong, in what is now Pakistan. The year was 1926. A dusty street, a modest home, and inside that home, a child who would one day change how we see the universe. His name was Abdus Salam. His father was an education officer, a humble man who believed that the true wealth of life was knowledge. His family was not rich, but their hearts were filled with a love for learning. From an early age, Abdus was different. While other children played, he sat under the dim light of an oil lamp, solving math problems far beyond his grade. He had a quiet intensity, a hunger to understand how the world worked. His teachers noticed. One of them said, "When Abdus looks at a problem, he doesn't just solve it, he sees through it." At 14, he broke every academic record in the district. The newspapers called him a child genius. He won a scholarship to Government College Lahore, where he outshined everyone, in mathematics, in physics, in everything he touched. And then his life changed forever. He was offered a scholarship to Cambridge University, one of the most prestigious universities in the world. The same halls once walked by Isaac Newton. For a boy from a small town in Punjab, it was like stepping into another universe. In 1946, Abdus Salam arrived in Cambridge, a shy, soft-spoken young man with worn-out shoes and a brilliant mind. He had never been abroad before. He had never seen such grand buildings or met such famous scientists. But he didn't just survive there, he excelled. Within a few years, he graduated with first-class honors in both mathematics and physics, a rare double achievement even by Cambridge standards. And then in 1951, he earned his PhD in theoretical physics. His research focused on one of the hardest questions in science: how light and matter interact. This was the age of quantum mechanics, a time when scientists were trying to explain the strange, invisible world of atoms and particles. Salam was fascinated. To him, these invisible forces were not chaos, they were beauty. He wrote in his notes, "If there is beauty in the universe, it must be in the harmony of its laws." That harmony, he believed, was the reflection of God's perfection. He once said, "Science is the study of how, religion is the study of why." After years in England, Salam returned home to Pakistan. His heart was full of hope. He wanted to build a new generation of scientists, to make Pakistan a country that stood tall in science and technology. He became a professor at Punjab University. Later, he was appointed as Chief Scientific Advisor to the government of Pakistan. He helped build the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission. He founded the Space Research Program and played a key role in establishing Suparco, Pakistan's space agency. He believed that a nation's true strength was not in its weapons,
but in its wisdom. He said, "If we wish to rise, we must build with knowledge, not with weapons." He was loved by students. He was respected by his peers. But behind the scenes, the political winds were changing, and soon those winds would turn against him. In the 1960s and 70s, Salam's research reached new heights. He began working on a mystery that had puzzled physicists for decades. Why do some forces in nature behave differently, even though they seem connected? He joined forces with three other great minds, Steven Weinberg and Sheldon Glashow. Together, they searched for a theory that could unite two of the fundamental forces of nature, the electromagnetic force and the weak nuclear force. After years of equations, calculations, and sleepless nights, they found it. A unified theory, the electroweak theory. It explained how particles gain mass, a discovery that would eventually lead to the famous Higgs boson, often called the God particle. In 1979, the Nobel Committee made the announcement. The Nobel Prize in Physics is awarded to Steven Weinberg, Sheldon Glashow, and Abdus Salam. For the first time in history, a Muslim scientist had won the highest honor in science. The world celebrated. Pakistan rejoiced. For a moment, it seemed like a new chapter of pride had begun. But that joy would soon vanish. Abdus Salam was a proud Pakistani and a proud Muslim, but he belonged to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, a small sect within Islam that believes in spiritual leadership after the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In 1974, the Pakistani parliament declared Ahmadis to be non-Muslims. Overnight, Salam, the nation's greatest scientist, became an outcast. His faith, once a source of strength, became a reason for persecution. Government offices stopped mentioning his name. His photos were removed from walls. Textbooks erased his story. The very country he served erased his existence. But Salam never denied who he was. When he accepted the Nobel Prize, he began his speech with the words, "In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful." He quoted verses from the Quran about the perfection of creation, saying, "Thou seest not, in the creation of the All-Merciful, any imperfection?" For him, science was worship. Understanding the universe was a way to understand God himself. But his message was not welcome at home. Years later, when he died in 1996, his tombstone was engraved with the words, "The first Muslim Nobel Laureate." A few days later, officials came and erased one word, the word Muslim. What remained was, "The first Nobel Laureate." The same man who gave his life to lift his country had his faith cut from his grave. But even rejection couldn't stop his mission. In Trieste, Italy, Abdus Salam built something extraordinary: the International Center for Theoretical Physics, or ICTP. His dream was to help scientists from poor and developing countries, to give them a place to learn, to experiment, to dream. He said, "Scientific thought is the common heritage of mankind. It belongs to no religion, no race, no nation." And he lived by those words. Today, thousands of scientists from all over the world come to ICTP. They carry his vision forward. They call him the teacher of the third world. He didn't just create equations, he created opportunities. Abdus Salam passed away on November 21, 1996. He was buried in his hometown, in the land he loved. He once said, I have spent my life trying to honor my people. I only wish they would remember me kindly. He never saw himself as a victim. He saw himself as a believer in God, in science, in humanity. His life reminds us of a truth the world often forgets: that genius has no religion, that knowledge knows no borders, that faith and reason can exist side by side. So, when someone asks, who was the first Muslim scientist to win the Nobel Prize? You can answer proudly, his name was Abdus Salam. A believer, a visionary, a forgotten genius who proved that the light of knowledge can shine